Good evening and welcome to the Raw Feed, broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. I'm Gary Franchi, and tonight we are bringing you a show that exposes both historic achievements and a dangerous backlash forming in response. But first, as you're watching this show right now, I want you to pick up your phone and do something that drives big tech crazy. Text this link to 3 friends because what we're about to reveal needs to be seen by every American who cares about this country's future. We're streaming live right now on YouTube to millions worldwide and simultaneously on Rumble and X platforms. You need to follow us on those immediately because, let's be honest, who knows how long they'll let us tell these truths on the primary platform. And speaking of truth-telling, what sets this show apart is something you won't find anywhere else in media, real-time interaction with you, our viewers. Throughout tonight's broadcast, we'll be featuring your Super Chats and Rumble Rants right here on screen for the world to see, getting your instant reactions to the bombshells we're about to drop. Let me tell you what's coming up because this is day 99, baby, of Donald Trump's historic return to the White House. And the story isn't just about transformation anymore. It's about the resistance forming against it. Tonight, we're bringing you the real story of what's happening at our southern border. Not the sanitized version you get from the corporate media, but the raw, unfiltered truth about how 95% reduction in crossings was achieved in just 3 months. We'll reveal explosive developments to the ActBlue investigation, a story of foreign money and identity theft that makes Watergate look like a parking ticket. And tonight, you'll see the shocking evidence of a military cartel connection in Colorado Springs that exposes just how deep the Biden border crisis really went. But perhaps most disturbing, we're going to show you how a sitting governor is now calling for mass protests in response to Trump's successes, with words that some are calling an incitement to insurrection. And finally, we'll expose how the deep state's panic is leading to unprecedented leaks that reveal the corrupt media intelligence complex. But here's the thing, we can only keep bringing you this kind of hard-hitting journalism with your support. The links are in the description to help keep Next News alive through your donations. And while you're there, hit our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com to show the world where you get your real news from. That's right. And for our most dedicated viewers, we've got something special, channel memberships, and they unlock exclusive access to the Next News team, behind-the-scenes content, and our members-only 24/7 Discord chat. And of course, if you're a member, you saw some of the behind-the-scenes stuff at the White House today. Now, before we dive in, let me just say this. What you're about to see tonight isn't just news. It's history being written in real time and the establishment's desperate attempts to stop it. The House of Cards is finally tumbling down, and we are here to document every single card as it falls. So stay right where you are. The Raw Feed starts now, and let's welcome you to the show. Who is in the house tonight? We got Texas Rose and Ann Bass and Sabrina, Annie Running Woods, Karen Finley is in the house, Jeremy Olson, Loyalty to Truth. We've got Mike's son. We've got Duty to Rebel. We've got, let's see here, we've got Jose, Mrs. Pothead Kenny, what's up? We've got Sure You, SLM, Pothead Kenny's here too. We've got, let's see, well, hit the share button. Let's get some more people in here. Cisco is here just in time. Yeah, we had to restart the stream. There were some streaming errors, so the original link that went out to everybody is no longer good, so that's one reason why the numbers are a little low right now. So we need your help to spread the link around, of course, also on X. Make sure you're following us there. Go over to our X account. If you're watching on X, just go ahead and hit repost so we can get this out to the widest possible audience. Interesting news, too. Some of the threads we've been posting on X have gone super mega viral. Millions and millions of impressions and views. And I think we picked up about 12,000 new X followers. So I want to say hello and welcome to all of our new followers on X, as well as all of our new followers on YouTube and everywhere else that we are streaming to. Scontech is here. Howard Asbury, Pureblood is here. Karen Myron, Army Dog, Cuttin' Horse, D. Lemons, Resto Guy, Ray Ligaki is here. I'm Gundam is here. Who else is in the house? Gen X is here as well. Okay, so once you have shared the stream, confirm you've done so. and make sure that when you confirm it, and type 1 in the chat room so we can acknowledge that. And of course, when you do sound off in the chat room, sound off where you're watching from, what kind of device. It helps everybody know just how big the family is. Especially if you're watching overseas. I really enjoy when I see people watching from all over the world. We are a worldwide broadcast, and people all over the world see America as the last beacon of freedom. And they come here to get the truth and to understand what real freedom is, because they can't speak this free in their own countries. They're getting arrested and locked up overseas for just making Facebook posts. So we have a real freedom here, and you get to experience it in real time. Okay, it looks like there was America Has Heroes has just become a member as well. Let's check in with that. No super chats yet, but welcome America Has Heroes to the membership family. You have opportunity now to see the members only videos that we post. Really cool stuff that you won't see published on the main channel at all. Okay, so let's get into it. We got some news here. It's Trump's 99 days sparking an American rebirth. Something extraordinary has been happening in America these past 99 days. A transformation so profound that even the president's harshest critics have fallen silent. Tonight, we have the numbers, the data, and the hard evidence that explains why the political establishment is in full panic mode. And what we're about to show you was never supposed to see the light of day. These revelations will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about America's trajectory. The corporate media doesn't want you to see this report, because once you do, there's no going back, because everything changes tonight. So don't move. We do have a Noble Gold investment alert right now. Gold has surged 46% in less than a year, doubling the gains of the NASDAQ and S&P 500. But this is not just another rally. Global reserves are shifting, exposing cracks in the monetary system. Investors are losing confidence in paper gold and demanding physical metal, creating a massive gap between gold owed and gold available. But this is not how institutions broke another system. It's about how you can profit from it. Right now, Noble Gold Investments has a limited supply of investment-grade gold bars and coins available. As banks scramble to fulfill their obligations, pushing gold prices higher, you can profit. Smart investors are already moving into physical gold, so visit nextnewsgold.com. It's linked down below, and turn their panic into your profit. That number on the screen is 877-646-5347. And when you call, and you just tell Colin that Gary Franchi sent you from the Next News Network. Okay, so, I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, and just last night I flew in and went right to the White House and had a remarkable experience as Marine One touched down. President Trump was there, and I was able to ask him my first question. Now, we've published this on social media. It's got on X over almost 500,000 views. If you haven't seen it yet, here it is. This is seconds after he stepped off Marine One. I asked him about the arrest of that Judge Dugan. Check this out.
He's a world-class. Mr. President, what's next for cleaning up the courts after Judge Dugan's arrest?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's next for cleaning up the courts after Judge Dugan's arrest?
No, it's terrible. What happened there is terrible. That could happen with a judge is so ashamed. And we have to bring our country back from all these criminals that Biden allowed to come in. These are world-class criminals and people that are insane, people from jails, murderers, drug addicts, drug dealers. And, we have a country. We have to be proud of our country. We can't let these people stay. The courts are allowing them to stay. And we're just not going to allow it. So hopefully the Supreme Court will come to the rescue of our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, what's remarkable about that moment is that he went to one press outlet, and then he saw me, heard my voice, immediately came right to my camera and addressed my question. He wasn't talking to anybody else. He was talking to the Next News Network. So this is a historic moment for us, and we're really proud of it. And then earlier today, speaking of President Trump, we had his first press secretary, Sean Spicer. In the background there, you can see there's a press gaggle going on with Stephen Miller. And as I was standing there, I saw Sean Spicer. And I asked one of the pool camera guys, is that Sean Spicer? He said, yeah. So Sean walked away, and I'm like, I'm going to go grab a quick hit with him, and this is what happened.
Look who's here. Gary Franchi here,
I'm outside the West Wing, and look who's here. It's Sean Spicer.
Good to see you.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
What brings you back to the White House?
We're here to get a discussion of what the president has done in the first 100 days, and so meeting with folks and getting a lot of content for my show at night, so we can talk about what he's accomplished in the first 100 days. Airs every night on YouTube at 6, so hopefully you can watch.
What's it like being on the other side of the podium now?
Oh, it's much more relaxing.
Yeah?
You see the color in my face, and it's enjoyable.
All right.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
bet.
Thank you. Gary
Now,
Frank.
if you remember, he took quite a beating. All of Trump's press secretaries took a massive beating, so I have a lot of respect for Sean Spicer, and it's great to see him, on the other side of the podium and right there at the White House. So today at the White House was absolutely amazing, but we have to get back into what's the narrative, what's being said right now. So the Sunday shows were full of incredible news direct from the White House. Trump officials revealing massive wins, border crossings down 95%, inflation falling, 74 terrorists arrested, peace talks advancing. So we've got all the details. Let's dive right into it. So here we have Secretary Rollins revealing in the first 100 days there's been a 95% decrease in illegal crossings.
100 days, there's been a I think there's a couple of things to note here. The first is this, that in the first 100 days, which we're about to mark this week, I think, the first 100 days, there's been a 95% decrease in illegal border crossings. Number two, inflation has come down, even if just a little bit, but for the first time since the last Trump administration. So border security, bringing the cost of goods down. Number three, law and order and arresting terrorists. 74 terrorists have been arrested in my world, in agriculture and making America healthy again. We've had a lot of accomplishments, energy, et cetera. That while we're talking about the economy, Dana, to your question, we are in that time of uncertainty, but the prices and costs for the average American consumer are on their way down, while at the same time, so we've got $7 trillion that has been basically promised to reshore back into America for jobs, for Americans, et cetera, as we're realigning the government. So again, I believe that poll is just one snapshot, perhaps of one day, that may not even be entirely accurate, but we, again, are convicted and resolute on this plan. We move forward. We've got 100 countries that have, approached us for retrading and trade renegotiations. And what that means for the American people is real certainty and real prosperity moving forward. I think there's...
And that's what we're doing. We're moving forward. This is day 99. And Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, clarifying that 3 U.S. citizens were not deported. Their mothers who were illegally here were. And that was a big point of contention in the press room today that was clarified. Let's go to Marco Rubio.
Their father on the headline. That's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 U.S. citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are U.S. citizens, they can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like, you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading.
Yeah.
That's just not true.
Just to be clear, because I do want to get to the overhaul at the State Department, is it the U.S. policy to deport children, even U.S. citizens, with their families, and I hear what you're saying, without due process? Just to be very clear there.
Well, no. Again, if someone's in this country unlawfully, illegally, that person gets deported. If that person is with a 2-year-old child or has a 2-year-old child and says, I want to take my child with me, well, then you have 2 choices. You can say, yes, of course you can take your child, whether they're a citizen or not, because it's your child. Or you can say, yes, you can go, but your child must stay behind. And then your headlines would read, U.S. holding hostage 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old while mother deported. So the parents make that choice. I imagine those 3 U.S. citizen children have fathers here in the United States. Yeah. They can stay with their father. That's up to their family to decide where the children go. Children go with their parents. Parents decide where their children go. Right. The U.S. deported their mothers who were illegally in America.
And Stephen Miller actually addressed that in a press gaggle earlier today as well. In a confrontation with a reporter. It was absolutely epic. We have it up on our X account. It's
completely exclusive video that we captured of Stephen Miller. It's about, I think it was like 13 or 14-minute press gaggle. You need to see it. Absolutely epic. But then we have this from Secretary Bessent about a story 10 days ago that said this is the worst April for the stock market. Let's listen in to his clarification.
When I look at some of the things that are being published, there was a story 10 days ago that said this is the worst April for the stock market since the Great Depression. 10 days later, the NASDAQ is now up in the month of April, and I haven't seen a story that says, oh, stock market has biggest bounce back ever. So
it certainly has gone back and forth.
I think a lot of this is media driven. When I look at
yes, of course it's media driven. They create the negative narratives. Here we have more from Marco Rubio on Ukraine on Meet the Press. Peace deals aren't built on trust. Listen.
Well, I don't think peace deals are built on trust. I think peace deals have to be built on verification, have to be built on facts, have to be built on action, have to be built on realities. So this is not an issue of, of trust. It's an issue of building in these sorts of things, verification, security guarantees, things that have been discussed in the past. All these things are being talked about here. All of these things.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not the time. If we're trying to bring two sides together, the last thing you want to do is give some side, one of the two sides, an excuse to walk away from this effort. We're just trying to achieve peace. At the end of the day, let me remind everybody, what we are trying to do is end a war that has cost a lot of money to us, to our allies, cost a lot of lives, destroyed a lot of lives, forced people by the millions to leave their country, millions of Ukrainians that no longer live in the country and have not been able to come back. We just want all this to stop. And we're trying to find whether we can play a role to make that happen. I hope, everyone should hope that we're successful. Instead of rooting against President Trump, everyone should be hopeful that President Trump can bring this war to an end, because it truly, at this point, is not good for anybody. It may not work out. Peace deals are hard, but we are trying, and I think the president deserves credit for spending this much time and this much energy and these many resources to try to bring about this outcome of peace.
Let's keep going, because we have Mike Waltz discussing the Vatican meeting, an iconic meeting that will go down in the history books.
In the history books.
And I believe he's talking about when Trump and Zelensky met on the sidelines.
That setting, that scene, that meeting is going to go down in the history books. For President Trump to be a president of peace, to be talking peace and diplomacy in the Vatican, of all places, just before we were able to walk out and the president sat with world leaders, people of all faiths, hundreds of thousands in the crowd. And the thing he was determined to do was to talk to Zelensky face to face and talk about how we're going to get the largest land war in Europe to an end. Both sides have to want that. He's expressed his frustration with both sides, but yet his determination. And if you go back to, we're 100 days in, Maria, just 100 days ago, Biden and his team had no end in sight. This was an endless war. This was a meat grinder of men and material and national treasure that really he had never defined victory. And President Trump is determined to use diplomacy to bring this war to an end, to talk to both sides. And just in 100 days, we've had multiple rounds led by Secretary of State Rubio, by Ambassador Steve Witkoff in Saudi Arabia, and now in the Vatican. And it was just truly special to stand there with other world leaders looking on as the President Trump led the way. How iconic.
And that's what he does. He leads. Here we have more from Secretary Bessent unveiling Trump's vision about the president looking forward to more jobs.
High performance to the jobs of the future. Looking forward to the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. The goal is to bring back high-performance manufacturing jobs, or create high-performance manufacturing jobs. Right now,
how long does that take? I mean, that is such a concern. How long does it take to bring that to the U.S.?
Well,
is there a plan?
Of course, but it's a process. Right now, the U.S. has a barbell economy. We have a very advanced financial system. We have a exploration and development that is the envy in the world. On the other side, we are a natural resource economy led by energy, which the previous administration tried to stifle. And in between is where working class Americans have lost out. And we want to bring back these manufacturing jobs or create these manufacturing jobs of the future. And we are meeting with companies that want to do this every day. The president is looking.
Here he is on the economic fundamentals, setting the fundamentals for a strong dollar and a strong economy.
Investors seem to be, if the goal is to get countries to stand with us against China, does it worry you at all that investors seem to be losing confidence in the U.S.?
Well, again, you're saying losing confidence, and I don't think that this is necessarily losing confidence. And anything, I've been in the markets for 35, 40 years, anything that happens over a 2-week, 1-month window can be either statistical noise or market noise. And we're in this for the long term. And the important thing is that we are setting the fundamentals for a strong dollar, a strong economy, strong stock market, and for investors to know that the U.S. government bond market is the safest and soundest in the world.
It's a goal.
Bottom line, what he's saying is that they're laying a foundation. Like all this fluctuation you're seeing now is just a skittish market. They're trying to adjust to the tariffs and the new manufacturing base that's coming in. People don't have the vision yet. And once the foundation is laid, this country is going to take off. Remember, we're only day 99 right now of this administration. Okay, we have years ahead of us as this foundation begins to settle, and then we are off to the races. So as you heard him say, it's noise. It's noise, and a lot of that noise is driven by false narratives from the media, trying to scare people, scare grandma, all these things. Don't believe it. We're going to be just fine. Okay. Here we have more from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, emphasizing Trump's unique position.
I think we're still hoping.
Given the frustrations that he is voicing, Mr. Secretary, why hasn't he imposed sanctions yet?
Well, because I think we're still hoping to see that this effort works out in diplomacy and that we can bring these two sides closer together. I mean, the minute you start doing that kind of stuff, you're walking away from it. You've now doomed yourself to another 2 years of war, and we don't want to see it happen. I think what's important and really weighs is there is no other country. There is no other institution or organization on the earth that can bring these two sides together. No one else is talking to both sides but us. And no one else in the world can make something like this happen but the president. This is a very significant responsibility and a really important opportunity. And we want to make sure that we work it all the way through, that we don't walk away from something that can actually work or that can actually lead to peace. But we also don't want to continue to spend time on something that's not going to get us there. So throughout this process, it's about determining, do both sides really want peace, and how close are they or how far apart they are after 90 days of effort here, over 90 days of effort. That's what we're trying to determine this week. There are reasons to be optimistic, and there are also reasons to be concerned. It's complicated. If this was an easy war to end, it would have been ended by someone else a long time ago. But right now, the only one who can bring these two sides together to end this war is our president, President Trump. And we're doing everything we can to see if we can get that done here over the next few days.
And that's what we're all hoping for. Here we have more from Secretary Rollins on global trade. We're opening up and expanding markets worldwide. Okay, this is more about that foundation that we were just talking about.
We are opening up and expanding markets across the world. I'll be in the UK. I'll be in Vietnam. I will be in Japan. I will be in Brazil. I will be in Peru. This is all in just the coming months. That in the last administration, we went from a $0 trade deficit when President Trump left for agriculture to an almost $50 billion trade deficit after the Biden administration on agriculture. There just wasn't much effort around the world to open these markets up. J.D. Vance was just in India. We see them as a massive trading partner moving forward.
So
if we can come to the right resolution and the right
deals. So you see there will be deals with other countries, perhaps to make up for whatever the problems are with regard to China?
It is going to be a new era of market expansion around the world, and our team is so committed to that. So I think we fix a lot of what's wrong with the China and the Brazil, et cetera, but we also open up new markets. I mean, countries are knocking on our door right now. They want our goods. Our agriculture products are the best in the world. They're the most productive. We feed not only our country, we feed the world. They're 100% safe. And so that's what a lot of these countries are asking for, and that's what our incredible team in Washington is moving toward.
The foundation's being laid. Here's more from Mike Waltz confirming some major developments in that rare earth deal in Ukraine.
Hard over the week.
Is the Ukraine rare earth minerals deal going to get done?
Oh, the Ukraine deal is going to get done. The negotiators were working hard over the weekend. Okay. That is first and foremost on both Secretary Bessent and the president's mind. It's going to get done, Maria. President's determined to make it so.
Is the Ukraine?
And now we have Tom Homan on border security, talking about now we have the most secure border in history.
Accomplish that in 7. Look, I think we've been very successful, and we got the most secure border in the history of this nation, and President Trump was able to accomplish that in 7 weeks. That's something that Joe Biden didn't and wouldn't do in 4 years. But yeah, the more money we have, the more we can do. The border is the most secure it's ever been in the history of this nation, but we need more funding for interior operations, ICE operations, to arrest those public safety threats, national security threats, and others from the United States. Again, the numbers are about 3 times higher than they were during the Biden administration as far as ICE arresting the interior. But with more money, we can do more. Look, I think we've been very...
Rubio signaling some important developments about this week and how it's going to be very critical for peace talks.
A determination about this week is... I think this is going to be a very critical week. This week is going to be a really important week in which we have to make a determination about whether this is an endeavor that we want to continue to be involved in, or if it's time to sort of focus on some other issues that are equally, if not more important in some cases. But we want to see it happen. There are reasons to be optimistic, but there are reasons to be realistic, of course, as well. We're close, but we're not close enough. I think this is...
And let's talk about President Trump's negotiation strategy. Secretary Bessent says nobody's better at creating leverage than Trump, and that's exactly what he's doing.
You're not going to tell the person on the other side of the negotiation where you're going to end up, and nobody's better at creating this leverage than President Trump. He's shown the high tariffs, and here's the stick. This is where the tariffs can go, and the carrot is come to us, take off your tariffs, take off your non-tariff trade barriers, stop manipulating your currency, stop subsidizing labor and capital, and then we can talk. But I tell you, Martha, that we've had several of these Asian countries that come in and said, oh, well, we'll stop doing this, this, and this. And I look at these lists, and I think, how did we get here? How did we get here? Because this trading system has been so unfair. And as President Trump says, I don't blame the countries. I blame the previous administrations that let them get away with it. They're not going to tell.
No one's going to get away with it anymore. Talking more about that economic transformation, it's underway. Inflation down, rates are down, gas prices are down.
Next 100 days, which is the inflation is down, rates are down, gas prices are down. I think what you're going to see, and I think what was revealing in Scott Bessent's interview, is the next 100 days, which is the rebuilding 100 days, which is cutting deals on the tariffs, which is calming people down as far as where we're going in the economy, the tax cuts that are probably likely coming to the economy. I think the one thing you can say about President Trump is that he's doing exactly with what he said he was going to do. Inflation.
That was Reince Priebus. He was President Trump's former chief of staff in the first administration early on. Interesting to see him. We don't get to see him very much, but clearly he is on the Trump train still. So the truth from the Sunday shows is clear. In just 100 days, the border secured, inflation down, peace talks advancing, manufacturing returning, markets expanding, and America is winning again, and freedom's being restored. Follow the Next News Network for the full story. And there is yours truly in the press office. So the story of Trump's first 99 days isn't just about numbers on a page. It's about the rebirth of American confidence. And tonight we've shown you undeniable proof of what happens when promises made become promises kept. The question isn't whether America is coming back, it's whether you're ready for what comes next. So ask yourself this. What does it mean for the establishment when their carefully constructed narratives crumble in just 99 days? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And before we move on, make sure you visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Our exclusive Next News gear lets you show your support for real, unfiltered news that the mainstream media won't touch. Okay, let's check it out. Whoa, you guys are dropping these super chats. Nice. I like to see that. Curio23. Obama mass deported Eastern European that had anchor babies, not the correct melon color. And our Boyd dropping $10. Congratulations, Gary. We are witnessing history. Yeah, and I got to tell you, being at the White House in the middle of it all is it's amazing. The energy there is off the charts. I can't even explain. It's like you are literally just running on adrenaline. Craig has just gifted one Next News Network membership. Thank you, Craig. And Pat Davis was the recipient. Welcome to the family, Pat Davis. Now you have access to the behind-the-scenes video, the one I just actually posted today as I was leaving the White House. Okay, let's go to our next topic of the evening. This promises to be a doozy. Oh, speaking of doozy, I saw Peter Doocy outside the White House as I was arriving this morning. And I said, the deuce is loose. And he just lifted up his coffee. The deuce is loose. I'm sure he has heard that a million times in his life. How old is Peter Doocy? Okay, let's jump into our next topic. What happens when unstoppable progress meets unmistakable resistance? Well, tonight we're witnessing an extraordinary collision between President Trump's fulfilled promises and a shocking call to action from Illinois' governor. From the West Wing, where Stephen Miller just spoke to us moments ago, to the halls of state power where unprecedented words are being uttered, something massive is unfolding. We have a series of videos that document both promises made and promises kept, but it's what's happening in response that will leave you speechless. The establishment's reaction to these successes tells you everything about why they are terrified. So watch what comes next. Now, if you're watching the incredible transformation happening in our nation's capital, you know real change takes strength and energy. That's why I'm excited about this breakthrough collagen formula that's helping Americans feel as energized as our country's comeback. Just like President Trump is delivering on his promises to restore America's vitality, this multi-collagen formula is delivering results you can see and feel. In fact, my own energy levels have soared since I started using it. Visit healthwithgary.com. It's linked down below and get 51% off while this special offer lasts. Okay, so this was the big story today. Is an insurrection brewing? Day 99 of Trump's wins. Border crossings down 95%, 800 ICE arrests. But Illinois Governor Pritzker calls for mass protests, saying Republicans cannot know peace. Is he inciting an insurrection against MAGA? Watch my report I just filed at the White House a few hours ago.
Yes, that is a Gary Franchi, Next News Network, coming at you from just outside the West Wing of the White House. Folks, it's April 28th, 2025, and I've got a bombshell that is rattling the swamp on day 99 of Trump's historic second term. While Trump's racking up wins, border crossings down 95%, illegals deported in droves, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is sounding like he wants to burn it all down. Illinois Review broke the story, and I'm bringing you the inside scoop straight from the White House. Now, Pritzker gave a hate-filled speech in New Hampshire, calling for mass protests and disruption, saying Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. Is he inciting an insurrection against Trump's MAGA agenda? Well, let's break it down, because this is the truth they don't want you to hear. It's Trump's 100-day run, and it's a masterclass. Border crossings slash 95% to 7,000 last month. Illegals released down 99% to 9. ICE nabbed 800 criminals in Operation Tidal Wave, and that's Trump delivering on day 99 with MAGA cheering, but Pritzker is stoking chaos. Illinois Review's Mark Vargas, he broke the story, exposing Pritzker's New Hampshire speech as a call to arms against MAGA. Here is Pritzker himself. Roll the video.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
Now that's Pritzker calling for mass protests and disruption, saying Republicans, Trump and his 36% MAGA base can't have peace. He wants to fight their cruelty and punish them at the polls. Well, the reaction has been swift. Let's throw up the first response on screen from Illinois Review's Mark Vargas. He did break the story. Now take a look at this tweet. This is what he said. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calls for violence against MAGA agenda during hate-filled New Hampshire speech. Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. Lives of everyday citizens are now in danger. Yes, that is a sentiment that is spreading across the web right now, and Vargas is not holding back. Pritzker's speech could put everyday citizens in danger. Now let's see what the legendary Republican strategist Roger Stone had to say. Let's get his reaction up on the screen. The legendary Republican strategist Roger Stone said, if a Republican said this, he would be charged with insurrection. Yes, he would. Roger Stone not mincing any words. He's calling it straight. If a Republican said this, they would be facing insurrection charges. So is Pritzker inciting an insurrection against Trump's government? Well, the Center for Strategic and International Studies defines insurrection as acts of violence and rebellion against the government, and sedition as speech inciting individuals to violently rebel. Now, Pritzker's words, disruption and no peace, fight their cruelty, sounds like a call for chaos, especially when Trump's administration is securing the border and locking up criminals. This isn't just politics. It is a potential threat to stability. This now hits close to home. Last night, I caught Trump on camera seconds after he stepped off Marine One, slamming activist judges for letting world-class criminals stay. Pritzker's speech feels like a direct attack on that mission. Trump's fight to protect Americans from illegal gangs, and now, apparently, a Democrat governor stirring the pot, with 59% of voters disapproving of Trump, but 36% standing firm as MAGA warriors. Pritzker's words could spark real trouble. I'm out here by the West Wing. The press is scrambling around me. Now it's time for you to do your part. Repost this video, and we will break this wide open together. And stick with me, folks, because the truth is hitting hard, and it's a firestorm. Outside the West Wing, I'm Gary Franchi for the Next News Network. Gary Franchi.
That was quite a report that I had filed there. But what's even more amazing is that moments later, Stephen Miller had a press gaggle. And I got the first question in as I asked him about Governor Pritzker, and he slammed Pritzker's mass protest call as inciting violence, linking it to left-wing terrorism. Says Democrats wage war on federal law as Trump's border crossings drop. Is it insurrection? Check this out, exclusive.
All across this country. Have a take a few questions.
Stephen, Illinois Governor Pritzker just called for mass protests and disruption, saying Republicans cannot know peace, while Trump's border crossings are down 95% and ICE is locking up 800 criminals. Is Pritzker inciting insurrection, and will DOJ take action?
Well, what I would say is that his comments, if nothing else, could be construed as inciting violence. So President Trump survived 2 assassination attempts against his life. Of course, there's been many more credible threats against President Trump and his family and associates. We've, of course, seen the spate of left-wing domestic terrorism all across this country. By the way, the destruction of property sits directly adjacent to attacks on humans and physical attacks. In other words, once you tolerate and once you allow for attacks on property, you're just a step away from people throwing Molotov cocktails into people's homes. And you've even seen some, I think one example of a formerly prominent Washington Post journalist who seemed to be celebrating the murder of a healthcare CEO, right? Health insurance CEO. And that's the point we've reached in this country, where people are engaging in rhetoric and behavior that puts the lives of public servants in danger, puts the lives of conservative Americans in danger. And so that's the first thing I would say. And then, of course, secondly, right, just this war that Democrat governors and mayors are waging against federal law enforcement. I mean, this is nullificationist behavior. This is successionist behavior, where they're saying they don't recognize the supremacy of federal law enforcement in terms of protecting the lives and livelihoods of American citizens against a foreign invasion. We've never seen anything like it. And of course, the result of their conduct is that they're allowing illegal aliens to go free and rape and murder their own citizens. So I can't imagine having a leader in a city or a state that would privilege the well-being of illegal alien murderers over their own citizens, but that's where we are right now.
So I'm happy to take a few questions. Yeah, so that's where we are right now. I want to point out, too, in this press gaggle, there was an encounter. I don't have the clip here, but it is on our X account. An encounter with a hostile journalist who was talking about the deportation of American citizens who were actually children that were taken with their parents who were illegal, and the parents took them on their own, at their own decision, at their own discretion. So the families wouldn't be broken up. And Stephen Miller handled that question amazingly. But what's also interesting is if you take a look in the background here, you'll notice that somebody does walk up. And if you look right over the shoulder of Stephen Miller, that's actually Sean Spicer, who just showed up to the White House, the former press secretary for President Trump. And it was kind of interesting. If you just kind of watch him walking up in the background, see him right there, you know, he's carrying some bags, you know, quite an interesting moment, just the irony of the former press secretary there walking up and capturing some video himself at a press gaggle. So pretty unique. And of course, I did speak to Sean Spicer shortly thereafter. But I thought that was just an interesting thing. I saw a press reporter, a pool reporter, and I asked him, I said, is that Sean Spicer? And he said, yeah. So it was pretty wild. Okay, now let's keep going because we have more on the promises made, promises kept. Let's get to another report I filed, inside scoop from the White House revealing Trump's kept vows, death penalty restored for migrant killers, MS-13 hit with 800 ICE arrests, and Kamala's app axed as crossings crash 94%. Here's my live report from just outside the West Wing earlier today.
Wedding. Now, Gary Franchi, Next News Network, coming at you from just outside the West Wing of the White House. And folks, it's a beautiful afternoon on April 28th, 2025, and this place is buzzing with the raw power of a president who delivers. Now, I'm unleashing a hit called Promises Made, Promises Kept, showcasing 3 videos of Trump laying down unbreakable vows and 3 proving he's turned words into action. This is the Trump revolution, charging full speed, borders locked, criminals on the ropes, and the swamp is sweating. Now, last night, I caught Trump on camera, seconds after he stepped off Marine One, tearing into judges for letting world-class criminals off the hook. And that's the fire we're bringing today. We've got 6 videos that show Trump's promises are rock solid, so let's dive in, because this is the truth the swamp cannot silence. Promise 1, death penalty for migrant killers. First, Trump's unyielding vow to bring justice to illegals who kill Americans. Here is the video.
And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
Now, that is Trump setting a zero-tolerance standard. Kill an American, face the ultimate justice. Now, Stephen Miller at the Department of Justice shows Trump's making it real. Roll the video.
He has also restored the death penalty at the Department of Justice, including for illegal aliens who commit murder, including for those who murder cops, and including for all of those who threaten Americans with heinous acts of violence. The death penalty is back. Law and order is back. The streets are being made safe once again.
That's right. Trump brought back the death penalty for illegal alien murderers, especially those targeting cops. Miller's declaration is proof that law and order is back, and Trump's promise is ironclad, unlike Biden's week on crime mess. Now, promise 2, eradicate MS-13. Next, Trump's iron-fisted commitment to wipe out MS-13, the brutal gangs terrorizing communities like Virginia. Here's the video.
I'm going to work with your governor, and we're going to get MS-13 out of Virginia within 1 month. 1 month.
1 month. That is Trump demanding results.
What I want to do, I want to have other governors, other law enforcement officers come here to Virginia and see this amazing task force, Governor, that is led by our agencies and Governor Youngkin, and what's happening here in Virginia. Arrests have increased 468% from the same period last year. We didn't need new laws, as President Trump always said. We needed a new president. And we have great leadership standing behind him to fight to keep America safe and make America safe again. We will keep your community safe, and we will continue to do that.
We are in the beginning stages of carrying out the largest deportation campaign in American history. Over this past weekend, it was announced that through Operation Tidal Wave, a joint effort between ICE Miami and Florida law enforcement agencies, nearly 800 illegal aliens were arrested during the first 4 days alone. Among those arrested were a Colombian murderer, alleged MS-13 and 18th Street gang members, and a Russian with a red notice for manslaughter. And on the other side of the country, in the early Sunday morning hours, DOJ and DHS together launched a joint raid of an illegal alien underground nightclub used by Tren de Aragua in Colorado Springs, Colorado. DHS took more than 100 illegal aliens into custody, and many drugs and weapons were also seized. Operation Tidal Wave is a preview of what is to come around this country. Large-scale operations that employ our state and local enforcement partners to get criminal illegal aliens off our streets.
There it is. 800 illegals, including MS-13 thugs, locked up in days. Homan's Operation Tidal Wave is a juggernaut, hammering Florida and paving the way for Virginia. Trump's 1 month vow, he's delivering and making streets safer. Now, promise 3, stop migrant flights and apps. Finally, Trump's pledge to dismantle Biden's migrant pipelines, those flights and apps fueling the invasion. Here's the video.
The migrant flights will end, and Kamala's app for illegals will be shut down immediately within 24 hours.
Now that's Trump vowing to slam the border shut. Now let's move on to Caroline Leavitt confirming that he has crushed it.
On another very important issue for the president, he continues to work hard to secure the border. If you missed it yesterday, CBP launched an enhanced home mobile app with a new feature, the Intent to Depart, which offers unlawfully present aliens or those aliens whose parole has been revoked an orderly and defined process to notify the U.S. government of their intent to depart the country. The CBP Home app strengthens our mission to secure the border and provides illegal aliens with a straightforward way to leave now before facing much harsher consequences later. A new report from Bloomberg just found that the number of aliens trying to reach our country by traveling through the jungle to Central America dropped a whopping 99% last month. And this follows the incredible news that illegal border crossings plummeted last month as well, down 94% at our southern border from last February under the Biden administration.
Done deal. Biden's CPB One app, Kamala's open border scheme is history, and Trump's CBP Home Act pushes illegals to leave, slashing crossings 94% from last February, and jungle routes 99%. Migrant flights grounded. Trump said 24 hours, and he made it happen. Now, these 6 videos are Trump's legacy roaring to life. Death penalty for killers, MS-13 in chains, and Biden's migrant scams obliterated. The left is reeling. Pew says 59% disapprove, whining about chaos, but 36% of voters are MAGA warriors, and they are fired up. So my exclusive video from last night, where Trump slammed the courts for shielding criminals, shows he's all in on this fight. I'm out here by the West Wing, the press hustling around, delivering the unfiltered truth. So stick with me, folks, because I'll be here all week covering Trump's big wins, spanning his first 100 days. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
Yeah, exciting day at the White House. I'm still coming down from the high, let me just tell you, for real. But we're going to keep going because we got to get into even more promises made and kept. While the fake news was busy lying to you about our border, President Trump was quietly working to fulfill every campaign pledge he made. The deep state couldn't stop him, the courts couldn't block him, and the establishment is in panic mode. Let's dive a little deeper. President Trump said, "I will end catch and release, and I will restore remain in Mexico." He said it during the campaign. That was the promise.
I will end catch and release. I will restore remain in Mexico. Remember, I got it done with the Mexican government. Remain in Mexico.
And here is the promise fulfilled.
On day one, I declared a national emergency on our southern border. I sent our military to the border to secure the sovereign territory of the United States of America. We ended catch and release. We began the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than that of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. You know, he was on day one.
And here we have more. President Trump, the promise: we will stop the invasion of illegals into our country. We will not be conquered.
Defend our territory. We will close the border. We will stop the invasion of illegals into our country. We will defend our territory. We will not be conquered. We will not be conquered.
And now the promise fulfilled. Check it out.
This almost changed overnight.
It
You
did,
think
yeah.
about those images, the before images, those lasted for years under the last administration. And you're talking, and I believe it was Tom Homan who said it, he said, this happened in 5 weeks, this change at the border. Were you surprised how fast it got cleaned up?
I mean, it was overnight almost, basically. I mean, within a matter of weeks. And just think about how many times we were essentially told, don't believe your lying eyes. The border is closed. The border is secure. They said that over and over and over as we're doing live shots down there with a total free-for-all. You know, it's just crazy to see the change now.
But this almost...
Here we have President Trump on the campaign trail. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. He was talking about Operation Aurora will dismantle every migrant. And I remember when he said that, I was like, holy cow. I remember the promise. You will too.
Aurora. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. That's where we had to go. To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. We will call it Operation Aurora. We want to pay tribute to Aurora, Colorado. The governor there is a radical left Democrat. He is petrified. I just don't want to walk out of his mansion. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. So we keep them out. And I am hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
Now, if you got this far into the video, you clearly like what President Trump is doing, so smash that like button right now, because now we have the promise fulfilled.
People that are on, we have deported over 120 people that are on the known terrorist watch list out of this country, over 800 TDA members, and over 100,000 different arrests have been made of criminals that are out of this country. Every single family that can identify with Laken Riley's family, Jocelyn Nungary's family, people who were devastated by these criminals are thankful that they're gone, and President Trump is on the right side of history.
Doesn't it feel good to be on the right side of history? Here we have the press secretary President Trump promised to defend women's sports from the radical gender ideology. He vowed that in America, we will recognize the biological truth.
In sports, or same thing with men in women's sports. The president signed a very strong executive order, making it the policy of the United States federal government that there are only two sexes, male and female, and we are not going to tolerate biological men competing in sports or impeding in private spaces for women like myself or you. And we've seen states defy this federal order. You've seen the state of Maine, unfortunately, because of their liberal governor, who nobody in that state disagrees with, I will add, being from New England, I can attest to that. People are incredibly fed up with her trying to oppose this common sense message. You've seen young women who have had to go on television to plead with their governor, please stop letting men play against me in sports. We shouldn't live in a country where that even has to happen. The president deeply understands that. That's why he signed that EO. And when Maine decided not to follow it, the Department of Justice sued them. So anyone who disobeys federal law will be either prosecuted, sued, or say goodbye to your federal funding.
And here is the promise fulfilled. Trump has signed over 140 executive orders in just 99 days.
Today officially marks the 99th day of promises made and kept by President Trump. Our primary focus today is how President Trump has fulfilled one of his central campaign promises to the American people in record time, ending the massive illegal invasion and securing our nation's southern and northern borders. As we know, Joe Biden allowed millions of criminal illegal aliens to pour into our country over the past 4 years. And as we all know, a significant number of those aliens have been vicious gang members, murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. Innocent Americans like Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungray, Rachel Morin, and many others have been murdered because of Joe Biden's open border. President Trump made a promise to the American people, to all of you, and your audiences, to end the carnage and keep our country safe. And he has overwhelmingly delivered on that promise. He immediately declared a national emergency on the southern border, deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion, and ended reckless catch and release policies. And as a result, between the inauguration and April 1st of this month, only 9 illegal aliens were released into the United States of America. This is a staggering 99.99% decrease from more than the 184,000 illegal aliens who were released into the country under Joe Biden during that same period last year. You can't get much better than 99.99% decrease. Total attempted illegal crossings at the southwest border hit a record low in February, only to fall to another record low again last month in March. President Trump signed the Laken Riley Act into law, requiring illegal aliens arrested or charged with theft or violence to be detained. And he reestablished the successful Remain in Mexico policy from his first term. The president has also restarted construction of his signature border wall. More than 85 miles have been built and are in various stages of construction and planning. He designated cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, invoked the Alien Enemies Act to apprehend, detain, and remove these massive threats who have flooded our country. And the Trump administration, as you heard from our border czar Tom Homan earlier today, is working literally 24/7 around the clock to successfully arrest and deport illegal criminals and foreign terrorists from our communities, your communities. We're in the beginning stages of carrying out the largest deportation campaign in American history. And despite the legacy media's fear-mongering and lies about this, we will continue with these successful operations because we know that's what the American people are expecting from this president, and that's why they overwhelmingly reelected him to this office.
Trump promised to put whistleblowers who expose corruption ahead of leakers who endanger our troops. The deep state thought they could hide their crimes forever, but Trump vowed to protect the truth tellers who expose the rot in the system. Here's more from the press secretary earlier today.
Is at the Treasury. I can tell you certainly the president commends anyone who steps out and speaks the truth, especially against the malpractice that we saw over the last 4 years under the previous administration. I could speak to the 2 cases at the Treasury Department. The 2 whistleblowers there who blew the whistle on the Hunter Biden tax fraud case have been promoted by Secretary Bessent. So certainly we commend anyone who has the courage to step up and speak the truth. And as for those who unfortunately try to leak, especially classified information to the legacy media to put our troops in harm's way, our law enforcement officials at harm's way, leaks like that will not be tolerated but those who are seeking to protect the truth will certainly be commended and applauded for that.
Promise fulfilled. President Trump signed an executive order requiring English literacy tests for truckers.
About the Uber drivers. And then the third executive order, which actually speaks to the heart of your question earlier about the Uber drivers, will be a order directing the Department of Transportation to include English literacy tests for our truckers. This is a big problem in the trucking community that, unless you're in that community, you might not know. But there's a lot of communication problems between truckers on the road with federal officials and local officials as well, which obviously is a public safety risk. So we're going to ensure that our truckers, who are the backbone of our economy, are all able to speak English. That's a very common sense policy in the United States of America. So the president will be signing that later this afternoon.
So the America First agenda is delivering exactly what was promised: a secure border, safer communities, and an end to the globalist open border nightmare. In just 99 days, President Trump has fulfilled campaign promises the establishment politicians failed to deliver for decades. This is just the beginning. The great American comeback is in full swing, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it. All right, so what we're witnessing tonight isn't just about kept promises. It's about the establishment's desperate response to real change. When a governor calls for mass protests and declares that Republicans cannot know peace in response to Trump's successes, you have to ask, who is really inciting insurrection? What are they so afraid of? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because we want to hear what you think about this unprecedented reaction to promises kept. All right, and make sure you go ahead and hit that merch shop down below, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, and show the world where you get your real news. Okay, that's right. Smash that like button if you haven't done so yet. Thank you, Craig. Keep using the like button like it's no tomorrow. We can help fight back as well. It's all our jobs. Thanks, N3 Patriots. You are the best. And then Susudio 0530 dropping $5. Deport all illegal aliens. They became criminals when they broke into our country. Yeah. And if you also want to help, like I said before at the open of the show, one thing you can do is you can simply text message the link to the to your friends. Okay. Tonight you're going to learn about an operation so explosive, so massive in scope, that is sending shockwaves from Colorado Springs to the southern border. And what we're about to reveal involves active duty military personnel, underground nightclubs, and a network that reaches into the heart of America's suburbs. The evidence we've assembled will show you just how deep the Biden border crisis really went, and why certain people in Washington are desperately trying to keep this story buried. And when you see what's happening in your own backyard, everything you thought you knew about border security will change. Hold on tight. And just as President Trump is tackling the pain of our border crisis head-on, Dr. Josh's revolutionary turmeric formula is helping Americans tackle their chronic pain naturally. While our Border Patrol fights the cartels, many Americans are fighting daily discomfort. But here's the breakthrough. This unique turmeric extract is 200 times more powerful than standard turmeric, providing relief that traditional methods can't match. It's helping patriots stay active and pain-free while our country gets back on track. Visit goldenrevive.com/NNN. It's linked down below to see how it works. Okay, so this was the scene when I went to the White House this morning. Never seen anything quite like it before. This was exclusive video shot revealing the White House lawn lined with mugshots of illegal aliens crimes set up for today's press briefing. Trump's administration sending a very strong message. Good morning from the White House. We've got a whole line
of signs of everybody who has been apprehended so far. All of the illegals captured for violent crimes, all let in under Joe Biden's watch. I mean, it goes on. This is huge. All the way. It keeps going. I mean, over here, it's everywhere. They are not joking around this morning. They are sending a signal right here to let America know they're cleaning out here even more. It keeps going. The press is getting ready for their morning hits, and so am I. Welcome back to the White.
Okay, so that was the scene that was this morning. It was very dramatic. So I found this report discussing the border win and Trump slamming the courts and criminals in the 14-page report that I received today.
Whirlwind, and I didn't. Gary Franchi here, Next News Network, coming at you from just outside the West Wing, folks. It's Monday, April 28th, 2025, and the White House is a hive of action. Reporters scrambling to unpack the 8:30 a.m. briefing that just lit D.C. on fire. Now, the press room is quiet right now. Everyone's hunched over laptops, but out here, the energy is electric. I was in that briefing ready to hit Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt with a question about President Trump's court cleanup. Yeah, tied to that exclusive I nabbed last night when I got Trump on video, seconds after he hopped off Marine One, unloading on activist judges. Now, the briefing was a whirlwind, and I didn't get my shot to ask, but no worries. I've got the full scoop on what went down, plus the day's lineup, and it's all Trump delivering big league. Let's dive in, because this is the truth the swamp cannot bury. So let's kick it off with the moment I caught last night right after Trump's 7:15 p.m. Marine One landing. I asked him straight up about cleaning up the courts after Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan's arrest, and he brought the heat. Here's the clip. Let's roll it. Mr. President, what's next for cleaning up the courts after Judge Dugan's arrest?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's next for cleaning up the courts after Judge Dugan's arrest?
No, it's terrible. What happened there is terrible. That could happen with a judge is so ashamed. And we have to bring our country back from all these criminals that Biden allowed to come in. These are world-class criminals and people that are insane, people from jails, murderers, drug addicts, drug dealers. And, you know, we have a country. We have to be proud of our country. We can't let these people stay. The courts are allowing them to stay. And we're just not going to allow it. So hopefully the Supreme Court will come to the rescue of our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Boom, that's Trump in warrior mode, slamming Biden's border chaos and vowing to stop courts from protecting world-class criminals. That was the perfect lead-in to today's briefing, where Leavitt and border czar Tom Homan dropped a border security sledgehammer. Now, I walk past these mugshot yard signs you can see behind me right here on the White House lawn. Faces of illegal alien murderers, child predators, you name it, nabbed by ICE. Leavitt handed out this 14-page report on 100 of the worst illegals ICE has cuffed, a blazing takedown of Biden's open border nightmare. She called Trump's first 99 days and day 100 tomorrow the most historic ever, especially on the border. Now, Biden let 10 million illegals invade, killing innocents like Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungary. Trump, well, he has locked it down, and the numbers are unreal. Leavitt said that southwest border crossings tanked to 7,000 in March of 2025, a 95% plunge from Biden's 140,000 a year ago. And February hit a record low. March went even lower from January 20 to April 1. Only 9 illegals were released into the U.S. compared to Biden's 184,000, 99.9% drop. Trump declaring a border emergency, sending the military and border patrol to crush the invasion, ended catch and release, brought back remain in Mexico, and the border wall surging, 85 miles of new construction, 75 miles of temporary barriers with Texas and DOD. Biden's CBP One app swapped for the CBP Home Act to push self-deportation. The cartels labeled as terrorists, with Trump wielding the Alien Enemies Act to take them out. And of course, Homan a force of nature. A 40-year vet who served 6 presidents and says Trump's border is the most secure in history, outdoing his first term. He hit us with a stunner. Only 178 illegals crossed yesterday, down from Biden's 15,000 daily. Gotaways from 1,800 a day to 38. His Operation Tidal Wave bagged 800 illegals in Florida over 4 days. MS-13 murderers. The Lot in Colorado Springs, DHS raided a Tren de Aragua nightclub, nabbing 100 illegals with drugs and weapons. Now, this is the biggest deportation campaign ever, and Homan's all in, and he warned illegals, register with the DHS or face jail and deportation. Got a removal order, fines up to $998 a day, and if you don't leave, that's the Trump Law and Order playbook, and MAGA is loving it. Now, things got heated in the briefing room. Reporters pushed on deporting kids or heirs, but Homan wasn't fazed. U.S. citizens, kid leaving with deported moms, their parents' choice, keeping families intact. Sanctuary cities, Homan said any official, mayors, judges, harboring illegals is fair game for prosecution, echoing my Trump clip where he called out courts for letting criminals stay. Now, Leavitt confirmed Trump's open to all legal remedies to blast through judicial roadblocks like Dugan's arrest for helping an illegal evade ICE. I had a zinger ready about Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson facing arrest for shielding illegals, but the briefing was a packed house, too many questions, not enough time. Still, Homan's warnings had every sanctuary mayor sweating. So what is on tap today? The press office schedule stacked with Trump's keeping the momentum. At 12:30 p.m., he's lunching with Vice President J.D. Vance in the private dining room closed to the press. But you know they're cooking up something huge. At 2 p.m., he's meeting the Speaker of the House in the Oval Office, probably plotting to steamroll Congress. And at 4 p.m. on the South Lawn, he's hosting the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles, open to pre-credentialed media. I have registered waiting for clearance, and Trump is going to fire up the fans. And then at 5, the big show, Trump signing 2 executive orders in the Oval Office, one boosting law enforcement, the other targeting sanctuary cities. Leavitt said that this EO will direct Attorney General Pam Bondi and DHS Secretary Noem to call out places like Chicago for blocking ICE. That's 140 EOs already blowing past Biden's 4-year total. This is day 99 of Trump's second term, and it's a masterclass in making America great again. The borders of fortress, cartels are on the ropes, and sanctuary cities are about to get schooled. And the less griping, griping, their Pew poll says 59% disapprove. Some whine about chaos, but 36% of voters are MAGA warriors, and they are roaring. Gas prices 4-year low. Groceries down 8%, deportations up 85%. That's victory and not chaos. So I'm out here by the West Wing where the press is hustling, the truth is breaking free, giving you the unfiltered scoop. So stick with me, folks, because Trump's just getting warmed up, and it's only Monday morning.
Yeah, it's only Monday morning, man. What a way to start the week, right? Okay. Let's keep going. We've got the bombshell report we've assembled for you. The deep state doesn't want you to see this. What's really happening at our southern border and inside our country, from military involvement with illegals to criminal cartels operating with impunity under Biden. Let's jump into this. So this was from the press conference earlier today. I was standing right there in the front of the room. The Biden border disaster. Tom Homan was there. Here it is by the numbers. From 15,000 illegals crossing daily to just 178 under Trump.
You know what the number was? We just went over the numbers. Let me talk about a few numbers that are important to me. Under the Biden administration, we averaged over 11,000 many days, over 12,000, even some days 15,000 illegal entrants in the United States. 15,000. You know what the number was the last 24 hours? 178. 15,000 to 178. Unprecedented success. On an average day in the Biden administration, known gotaways. People we knew crossed the border because they're on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic. Crossed the border, weren't apprehended, weren't fingerprinted, weren't vetted. Average day under Joe Biden, more than 1,800 gotaways. Yesterday, 38. 38 too many? We'll get that to 0. But we went from 1,800 to 38. And finally, that was said earlier, under the first 100 days, or it was actually January 20th to April 1st, last year, 184,000 illegal aliens were released into the United States. Under this administration, 9. 4 of them were material witnesses in a criminal investigation. We need them here to testify in a serious criminal trial. 4 was extreme medical condition. We couldn't return them because they were in such bad shape. And 1 was a humanitarian issue. This is unprecedented success. The border secure. President Trump saving lives. President Trump has proven no one does this better than President Trump. There is no equal, it's not even close. We just want the numbers.
Wake up, America. There are at least 20 million illegals in our country right now, not the 12 million they've been lying about for decades. Check this out. More from the press conference earlier today with Tom Homan.
We've been speaking about 12. Well, first of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States? At least 20 million. Here's a where'd you come up with that number? We've been speaking about 12 million for 20 years. We know we got 10.5 that we know of came to the border. How many don't we know of? I talked about known gotaways at 2 million. How many unknown gotaways we have? Like between the Big Bend sector in Texas where there's no technology. How many 1,000 people dig across through there? We wouldn't know. We would know now. But, you know, so I would venture over 20 million. But your question is, last count, last I looked, there was about 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal charges walking the streets of this country. 700,000. And that's what we're looking for now. That's what we're prioritizing. Them and national security threats. Well, first of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States?
Under Biden, ICE had the lowest number of criminal removals in history while the border was wide open. Why? Because they were too busy releasing millions of illegals into your communities. Here's more from Tom Homan's press conference at the White House today.
I was going to go to, I don't know why. It's sick. It's the worst crime in the world when you sexually assault a child. I mean, the most innocent of us all. But that's why I made a statement that one time I was going to go to Boston, bring hell with me, and the media went crazy. Tom Homan says he's going to go to Boston, bring hell with him. I was going to bring hell to illegal aliens that rape children. There's not more of a heinous crime. And as you can see, the amount of child rapists we've arrested under this administration, that could have been arrested under the Biden administration. They were out there. They had their final orders. They were out there, but they didn't go look for them. They were too busy releasing millions of illegal aliens in this country. And the numbers prove it. The removal numbers of criminals was the lowest. ICE had the lowest number of removals in the history of ICE under Joe. At the same time, you had historic illegal immigration on the border. ICE had the lowest numbers in the history of the agency. That shows the difference between two administrations. We're looking for every one of them. People want to know, okay, when am I going to retire for the 3rd time? I'll retire when every public safety threat, national security threat, child rape is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll rest. I don't know why. It's sick.
So why did Biden release these millions in our country? Well, follow the money. They put illegals in $500 a night hotel rooms instead of $127 a night detention beds. Why? Listen.
Why did they and as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior of the United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed at $127 a night rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose. Because when you put them in ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, their hearings could be 5, 7, 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country out for future political power. That's what it was. The law clearly says if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done. And as far as releasing so many people,
But here's the point I think really drives it home. Not just the monetary point, but this one.
Administration's in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country out for future political power.
Selling this country out for future political power. That's how sick these people are. Wow, he said it so clearly. We've been screaming it, and everybody knows it. And it's a breath of fresh air to hear it from the White House podium in that press room. Now, the elites won't tell you this. Biden was the first president in American history to deliberately unsecure our border. Here's more from Tom Homan. Another amazing moment.
Look, I started in the Border Patrol in 1984. I've been at this for over 40 years. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I ever worked for took border security seriously, because you can't have national security if you don't have strong border security. We got to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where's coming in, why it's coming in, right? Even President Obama and President Clinton took some steps to secure the border because they understood national security was important. Joe Biden was the first president in the history of this nation who came in office and unsecured a border on purpose. That's just a fact. We handed the Biden administration, after President Trump's first administration, we handed the Biden administration the most secure border in my lifetime, and he unsecured it on purpose. Now President Trump and this administration here, the success is unprecedented. We beat Trump's first administration on border success. Border numbers are historic low. Today, as I'm standing here, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. And the numbers prove it. Look, I started in the Border Patrol in 1984.
Major raid in Colorado Springs. Did you hear about this? Uncovers an underground nightclub with over 200 people, including 100 illegal aliens, drugs, and weapons, and active duty military personnel acting as security, happening in your backyard.
Hello, I'm Diane Derby with an update to breaking news. More than 100 undocumented migrants are in custody right now after an overnight raid at an underground nightclub in Colorado Springs. That's according to the Drug Enforcement Administration. It happened this morning on the southeast side of Colorado Springs. This is just northwest of the intersection of South Academy Boulevard and Airport Road. Take a look at this video the DEA posted on X. You can see law enforcement breaking a window at a building as dozens of people start running out of it. The DEA says more than a dozen active duty members of our military were either working in this underground nightclub as security or there as patrons. The DEA says drugs and weapons were seized during this operation. News 5's Allison Zimmerman has been live at the scene since early this morning. She's been talking with the special agent in charge of the DEA Rocky Mountain Field Division. Allison, what are you learning right now?
And Diane, the special agent in charge from the DEA is saying that Colorado Springs is waking up to a safer city after this massive operation took place overnight. Now, what we know is more than 300 federal law enforcement officers arrived here. Again, we're in southeast Colorado Springs. We're directly across the street from the Satellite Hotel, just to give you an idea of just exactly where we are. And as you mentioned, this was an underground nightclub, a very big drug trafficking investigation, and then resulted in more than 100 illegal immigrants being detained here today. We do know that there were a couple of other people that were also detained for having state warrants as well. And you certainly mentioned the military presence. Perhaps one of the most shocking, stunning details this morning that we were hearing is about a dozen active duty military members that were here overnight in this underground nightclub. And they were saying how they are now being referred over to the Army Criminal Investigations Division. But we do not know if they are active duty service members stationed at Fort Carson. Certainly, we know that Army CID is investigating. But when we were speaking with the special agent in charge with the DEA, this is one of the things he talked about when we were specifically focusing on the illegal immigrants and this big drug investigation. Take a listen.
These crimes go hand in hand, right? When we find drug trafficking and prostitution, unfortunately, we're finding a lot of illegal aliens. 200 people in this club, a lot of drug trafficking happened, weapons, prostitution, over half the people inside were illegals.
Hello, I'm Diane Derby.
That is absolutely insane to think that you had active duty military, like performing security as all of that activity was going on. What kind of security are they providing? I mean, are they securing the place so everyone looks the other way? I mean, seriously, there's going to be a lot of questions. Over a dozen active duty U.S. military members caught working security at a illegal nightclub with drug trafficking. Here is more from the DEA.
So good morning. John Pullen with DEA and the Rocky Mountain Division. We're here on the scene of an underground nightclub where over 300 federal law enforcement, along with our local partners from El Paso County and Colorado Springs PD, executed an enforcement operation this morning. It's a drug investigation. We seized quite a number of guns and took a number of people into custody. I think what I'd like for people to know as a result of this operation is that Colorado Springs is waking up to a safer community today.
Jonathan, give us some perspective here. 300 law enforcement officers. What brought about this kind of requirement, this kind of need to be here with that show of force?
So this is an underground illegal nightclub, okay? And what was happening inside was significant drug trafficking, prostitution, crimes of violence. We seized a number of guns in there. We had active duty service members who were running security at the club and involved in some of these crimes. And in fact, we had over 100 illegal aliens inside as well, and those over 100 illegal aliens were taken into custody by ICE.
Active duty service members helping as security here. Can you elaborate on that at all?
So it's an ongoing investigation, but we had over a dozen active duty service members in the club tonight, either as patrons or working as armed security.
How many of those were detained and what are they facing right now?
So Army CID was one of our partners out here, and they're going to work with us on what the next steps for those active duty service members looks like.
You mentioned that this is a drug trafficking operation. Can you elaborate on any drugs you found, the amount, any charges you anticipate that could come out of tonight?
So as you may suspect, when the cops showed up at the door, most of the drugs hit the floor. And we did find cocaine. It looks like some pink cocaine or the Tusi. And there's a little bit of other drugs, but we haven't had time to test everything. But there were dozens of small packages of drugs that they've recovered so far that I've personally seen.
How else have you got to this location?
This has been a long-term investigation by DEA and a number of our federal partners. And so we've been working on this underground nightclub for a number of months, doing undercover, surveillance, a lot of other work to identify what's going on here. And again, you know, months-long information about drug trafficking and prostitution happening inside. So, good morning, John.
Freaking believable. DEA confirming 13 Tren de Aragua Hell's Angels operating inside the underground club. The cartels have infiltrated our communities while the establishment looked the other way. This is the Biden legacy. Under Biden, an average of 1,800 gotaways every day, people who cross the border without being fingerprinted or vetted. Yesterday, under Trump, just 38. This is the new America First difference.
In many days, we just want the numbers.
Here's Tom Homan from today's press conference.
Talk about a few numbers that are important to me. Under the Biden administration, we averaged over 11,000 many days, over 12,000, even some days 15,000 illegal entrants in the United States. 15,000. You know what the number was the last 24 hours? 178. 15,000 to 178. Unprecedented success. On an average day in the Biden administration, known gotaways. People we knew crossed the border because they're on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic. Crossed the border, weren't apprehended, weren't fingerprinted, weren't vetted. Average day under Joe Biden, more than 1,800 gotaways. Yesterday, 38. 38 too many? We'll get that to zero. But we went from 1,800 to 38. And finally, that was said earlier, under the first 100 days, or it was actually January 20th to April 1st, last year, 184,000 illegal aliens were released into the United States. Under this administration, 9. 4 of them were material witnesses in a criminal investigation. We need them here to testify in a serious criminal trial. 4 was extreme medical condition. We couldn't return them because they were in such bad shape. And 1 was a humanitarian issue. This is unprecedented success.
The globalists won't report this, that Biden policies led to 600% increase in sex trafficking. How many children were victimized? How many Americans died? Trump's policies are saving lives every single day.
How many women? President Trump's policies are saving lives every day. There's been studies done that says 31% of women that make that journey through use of cartels get sexually assaulted. When President Trump has illegal immigration down 96%, when 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being sexually assaulted by the cartels? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this nation? How many known suspected terrorists aren't making it into this country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting into this country to kill young Americans? How many women and children aren't sex trafficked? Under Joe Biden, sex trafficking is up 600%. We had 4,000 aliens dying making that journey. We had 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl that came across an open border. President Trump's policy saves lives every day. Even the border wall saves lives. The people want to hate on the border wall. Every place a border barrier has been built, illegal migration's declined, illegal drug flows decline. But you know what no one talks about? The border wall saves lives. Because the most vulnerable, the women and children, can't get over that wall, which means they're going to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women of the United States Border Patrol who will take care of those humanitarian needs, the health needs right off the bat. President Trump's policy.
So what we've just revealed about the cartel invasion isn't just a wake-up call. It's a reminder of how close we came to losing our country. The underground network we've exposed tonight raises a chilling question. How many more of these operations are still active in American cities? How deep does this really go? Share your theories in the comments below, and of course, any tips, because we want to hear what you think about this unprecedented threat to our national security. And before you go, visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It's linked down below. Our commitment to exposing the truth about our border crisis never wavers, and your support through our merchandise helps keep real journalism alive. Wow. Active duty. How crazy is that? Okay, we're at $24.99 in chat revenue, and 2 new members. Hit the share button right now. Push this out to your Facebook groups. Repost it on X. Text it to your mother-in-law. Whoever needs to hear this message tonight, invite them personally to join the stream and get a good dose of real truth. We're going to move on to our next topic about ActBlue. The foreign money scheme finally being exposed. Remember that? Well, we're going to jump right into it now because it is long overdue. I'm excited for this one. Absolutely excited. What if we told you that the largest political fundraising operation in American history was built on a foundation of fraud? Well, tonight we're going to show you something that will fundamentally change your understanding of how modern elections work. We've been examining thousands of donations, following paper trails that lead to some very interesting places, and what we found involves retired educators, suspicious patterns, and money flowing from places it shouldn't. The evidence is so damning, certain people in Washington are already lawyering up. So pay close attention to what comes next, because this story is about to blow wide open. Just as our investigation exposes the high-pressure world of political money, many Americans are struggling with their own pressure problems. Think about it. Half of all adults have high blood pressure, yet only 1 in 4 have it under control. While we monitor the nation's political health, it's crucial to monitor your own. That's why I trust this incredible natural formula designed to help manage blood pressure, cholesterol, and weight safely. Visit boostwithgary.com and get up to 40% off during our special promotion. Take control of your health like we're taking control of our republic. Okay, so the big bombshell. President Trump has finally unleashed the DOJ. The DOJ to investigate the massive fraud machine at ActBlue. The foreign money and identity theft scheme that's been funding the Democrat machine for years is about to be exposed. This is what accountability looks like. Let's dive in. So remember when James O'Keefe caught ActBlue red-handed? He found retired educators supposedly making over 10,000 separate donations totaling $75,000 in a single year. When confronted, they had no idea their identities were being used, and the deep state buried it. Check this out from the O'Keefe Media Group.
Red is apparently... There's this data that we looked at from this man in Wisconsin who compiled all the FEC data, and your name in New Jersey was the top one. You remember our ActBlue story from March about tons of mysterious cash being funneled into Democratic campaigns by unwitting donors? Well, we just learned that the Republican counterpart to ActBlue, WinRed, is apparently in on it too. Data we obtained from the Federal Election Commission seems to suggest that countless unwitting campaign donors are giving huge amounts of money to various candidates, but they're doing it in thousands of small transactions spread throughout the year. But what exactly are they hiding? We decided to pay a visit to the most active political donor in the state of New Jersey, according to Federal Election Commission data, to try to figure out what's going on. This retired education administrator told me she gives a few bucks here and there to WinRed a couple of times a month. There's this data that we looked at from this man in Wisconsin who compiled all the FEC data, and your name in New Jersey was the top one. Listen to this. The FEC says Alexandra Gina gave $75,000 last year, donating a total of 10,355 times. They say in 2021 she gave $61,000 to candidates in 5,700 separate donations. So far this year, the FEC says Gina has given $16,798 in 2,486 separate donations. What does the FEC say she's donated in the past 3 years? Just over $154,000. But Gina denies this. How many times do you think you've donated? Is it 100 times? Is it 20 times? Is it just order of magnitude? Did you donate 30 times in 2 days?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It gets weirder. On May 21st of this year, FEC data seemed to indicate that Ms. Gina apparently gave 3 separate Republican causes a donation of 5 cents apiece.
Those are small. In terms of the number of donations, yes, they are separate, but they're part of one solicitation.
We reached out to a number of people and didn't get many answers. We tried WinRed, we tried the head of WinRed, we tried the FEC in Washington, but neither would explain these discrepancies or where the money is actually coming from. In fact, no one really wanted to talk about it at all. It sounds like WinRed and ActBlue are attributing thousands of dollars in contributions to unwitting donors and funneling them to political campaigns in multiple micro donations spread throughout the year. Alexandra Gina, who seems to be a victim of the scheme, calls this mind-boggling.
But it is disturbing because it's mind-boggling that it should be that much.
Maybe that's why they call it dark money. WinRed and ActBlue are both political action committees, and they raise money for candidates in their respective parties through online donations. They're now the biggest sources of funding for any campaign by far, processing most of the contributions from individual donors in each election cycle. The FEC does place limits on the amount an individual can donate to a campaign. It's $5,000 a year for a single candidate. But there are no limits to what a person can donate to so-called super PACs. A super PAC acts just like a regular PAC, but it operates completely independently from the campaign. They can raise unlimited cash, but they can't coordinate with the campaign or candidate. So is that what's happening? Or is it something more sinister? There's this data that we look.
So WinRed, apparently, in on the take as well. I've donated through WinRed. I'm sure you have too. And I had suspicions initially that perhaps they would, and now James O'Keefe has confirmed it. And now President Trump signing a historic memorandum directing AG Pambani to investigate how ActBlue has been using straw donors and foreign money to illegally influence our elections. Check this out.
And foreign contributions. Meanwhile, President Trump is directing the Justice Department to investigate ActBlue. This is a Democratic donation platform, and the focus as the allegations about illegal straw donors and foreign contributions. Mark Meredith is live in Washington with more. This has been brewing for a while, Mark. What do we need to know?
Dana, for years, you're right about this, but this is a big development. The White House is directing the Attorney General to investigate the Democratic Party's top fundraising platform. It's called ActBlue, and the president says he wants to know if foreign money is being donated to the group and then utilized to sway elections. Democrats are calling this probe a dangerous abuse of power. ActBlue is an enormous operation in Democratic politics. It's raised more than $16 billion since 2004. You may have seen the text pop up from candidates saying, please donate, go to the ActBlue website. Republicans use something similar called Win Red. There was a new memo signed on Thursday directing the Attorney General to investigate if foreign nationals are using the ActBlue platform to bypass campaign finance laws. Trump wants a report out in 6 months. Republicans who've been looking to this for years up on the Hill say a formal federal investigation is long overdue.
We know nefarious countries that don't have the United States interests at heart are looking for ways to influence and impact U.S. policy. Making sure that we're closing the door to that as it relates to campaign finance and as it relates to actually voting in U.S. elections is absolutely essential.
ActBlue says it's ready to defend itself, including through the courts. Overnight, the new chairman of the Democratic National Committee released a blistering statement accusing Trump of trying to silence his opposition. Ken Mort writing, Trump is trying to block lawful grassroots donations from supporters, giving just $5 or $10 to candidates who oppose him, while further empowering the corrupt billionaires who already control his administration. And
what a joke. Oh, yeah, President Trump's trying to interfere with elections by investigating election fraud. Okay, those trying to debunk O'Keefe's investigation actually admitted it was true. Their defense, it's not a big deal that elderly people made $2,400 donations. Let's listen to what Tim Pool's talking about here.
Be true, right? James O'Keefe began investigating ActBlue and found peculiar instances where individuals had been making, 3,000 donations over a short period, elderly individuals. Now, that couldn't possibly be true, right? Straw donations. People are contributing in someone else's name, but who, how, and why? Then you have a fear of foreign donations, much in the same way. And now, my friends, it has begun. Trump has ordered the probe of foreign funding and straw donors in elections after ActBlue fraud claims. President Trump signed a memo Thursday ordering a probe of any illicit straw donors or foreign funding that flowed into federal elections following claims the largest Democratic fundraising platform has accepted fraudulent contributions in 2024. Based on the evidence I have seen, I am of the opinion that it is a fact that ActBlue is funneling foreign donations into the Democratic Party and to themselves.
Do you realize the ramifications of this? If they can track it back to the foreign countries and the foreign donors, I mean, remember when they screamed and yelled because Russia bought Facebook ads and influenced the election? It will make that moment in history look like small potatoes. I mean, we're talking billions and billions of dollars funneled in through micro donations using straw donors to influence our elections. So in 6 months, we're going to get some answers. Pam Bondi is going to be investigating this. I really hope that she can get to the bottom of this because this is insane. And their heads are going to roll. Like this. James O'Keefe found a Maryland resident supposedly making over 3,000 donations. The fact checkers tried to debunk him, but could only show it was just 2,213 donations.
Elections for years. But Democrats do seem to be disproportionately benefiting from the data we reviewed on the FEC website. Everyone talks about George Soros, but I bet you didn't know that Swiss billionaire Hans-Georg Wyss has been pumping hundreds of millions of dollars in this dark money into American elections for years.
There's a Swiss billionaire named Hans-Georg Wyss who has been giving hundreds of millions of dollars into these new 501c4 entities that were made possible by the Citizens United decision. He's been contributing like hundreds of millions of dollars to democratic and progressive causes. His own sister wrote a biography and then said in the biography that he specifically wants to remake the American Constitution into something that specifically pushes progressive value.
We've been following this story for more than a year, and our reporting has led to calls for investigations by Marco Rubio when we did the ActBlue story, among other developments. You can count on my team and myself at OMG to keep looking and digging for answers.
Everybody needs to be held accountable to make sure that we're keeping foreign money out of elections and we're not having, mass fraud occur online to influence elections.
This story matters to a lot of people. A lot of you have told us this is our biggest and most important reporting yet, and it's not over. You can actually help us report this story. The FEC has a database. You can see it right here. You can go on fec.gov and you can search for your own individual contributions on file or in your state. Maybe you can knock on some doors, ask these citizens if they've done this, ask to review their bank statements, see if those citizens will show you their bank. But Democrats do.
The left's panicking. ActBlue's response, call it an assault on democracy. Hiring lawyers. If they have nothing to hide, why not welcome the investigation? Because they know what's coming. Check this out.
Just in the past few hours,
MSNBC, breaking news.
Donald Trump's campaign of retribution is now taking direct aim at the Democratic Party's top fundraising platform, ActBlue. Just in the past few hours, the president signed a memorandum directing Attorney General Pam Bondi to, quote, investigate allegations regarding the unlawful use of online fundraising platforms to make straw or dummy contributions.
Donald Trump is targeting. Listen to the language they're using.
Or foreign contributions to political candidates and committees, and to take all appropriate actions to enforce the law. Congressional Republicans have separately been investigating these claims of straw and foreign donations, which thus far have been unsubstantiated. Now, for those at home who may not be familiar with the name ActBlue, it is widely considered to be one of the pillars of the Democrats' digital ecosystem. It has given them a significant advantage over Republicans in terms of small dollar fundraising. It's not just presidential candidates, also candidates for congressional, state, and local races. Odds are, if you have donated to a Democratic candidate or a Democratic cause in the past several years, it's probably been through ActBlue. And this move by the president today could have major consequences for Democratic candidates, potentially hurting their ability to bring donations and therefore compete in future elections. And it comes as the Associated Press is reporting that in the first 3 months of this year alone, donors have given more than $400 million to Democratic candidates through ActBlue.
Yeah. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Now check this out. These aren't just technical violations. ActBlue's been linked to groups funding violent protests and anti-Semitic activities. They're laundering foreign money through prepaid cards and fake identities. No wonder they trained employees to look for reasons to accept suspicious donations.
A foreign money laundering. ActBlue, the Democratic Party's key fundraising platform, is under increasing scrutiny amid allegations of fraud and illegal activities. Republicans have accused ActBlue of collecting money through deceptive methods, sparking congressional inquiries and a series of staff departures. The platform, which has processed over $16 billion in donations since 2004, is facing claims of foreign money laundering and financing terrorism. Notable accusations include failures to verify donor identities, which could open the door to fraudulent contributions. In response, ActBlue has implemented new credit verification value requirements, but loopholes still remain. Representative Andy Biggs has called for an FBI investigation, while Representative Darrell Issa has urged a Treasury Department probe into allegations of ties to terror-linked organizations. ActBlue has also been linked to groups that have supported violent protests and anti-Semitic activities. The platform is now at a crossroads as it must navigate these serious allegations while maintaining its role in Democratic fundraising. ActBlue has not responded to requests for comment.
Of course they haven't responded to requests. The SHIELD Act would have stopped this fraud by requiring CVV codes and banning prepaid cards. Very simple. ActBlue lobbied against it because they didn't want to verify donors. Why? Because they were training employees to look for reasons to accept suspicious donations. Alex Jones, ActBlue's head, admitted in congressional testimony they received billions from overseas credit cards. They've been caught.
Donations in the last couple of elections. Earlier this week in Congress, ActBlue's head testified and confessed that, yes, they got billions of dollars of donations in the last couple of election cycles from overseas credit cards. And, of course, they've been caught taking the names of tens of thousands of innocent Americans, including prominent Republicans even, and giving massive donations in them names with somebody else's credit cards. Absolute money laundering, cut and dry. And now it's come out, and I'll link to some of the investigations below, that ActBlue has been the main group funding protests and assaults and attacks on Tesla dealerships around the United States, and other leftist groups are funding them in Europe. Pure intimidation and bullying to try to stop the head of Doge, Elon Musk, from doing the incredibly important work he's doing, exposing these criminals. So, whether it's the Soroses funding Antifa and color revolutions, or big dark donors, dark money, hidden money being given for all these different campaigns that we've seen against Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his confirmation, it's the same criminal cabals that are doing it, and Doge is literally cutting off most of the government money that they've been getting from USAID, of course, the EPA, and other big illegal slush funds. It came out last week that John Podesta, one of the top people in the Democratic Party, was over a $370+ billion slush fund, tens of billions of it going in just the last election cycle of the Democrats. This is cut and dry. Pam Bondi, the AG, Kash Patel, the FBI director, have cut and dry evidence, and it's being reported that all those groups, ActBlue, you name it, the USAID operatives, the EPA people, are all under criminal investigation. So expect major indictments soon. As promised a week ago, Pam Bondi is now basically removed or forced to resign a whole bunch of top FBI and DOJ officials in the Southern District that have been suppressing the Epstein files. And she said last week an entire truckload was delivered to her and that she'll be releasing it soon. Only the names of the victims redacted. So far, they've been doing everything they say they would do. But as the vice president said when he was asked, hey, why aren't there more deportations? He said Rome wasn't built in a day. They've already cut border crossings by 94%. They're deporting thousands a day, and they're really escalating their operations up as they get more people in. So overall, I'm very, very impressed by Trump, by Musk, by Doge, by the vice president, by everybody. This is a real change that we're seeing. And as Trump said, the globalists had all these policies in place to keep us poor and to control Americans, and he is reversing all of those, but it's going to take time. I'm actually very impressed by how fast they're moving. They're not God, folks, but they are definitely trying to do the best job they can to turn this country around. I'm very, 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 very excited about that. Very, very thankful to all of you that voted for Trump and got behind Trump, but we've got a lot more to do. And we need to support what they're doing and be their eyes and ears on the ground. God bless you all. Please follow me right here on X at Real Alex Jones and read the reports below about ActBlue funding all of this bullying, intimidation, and soft terrorism.
Wow. President Trump just called them out. ActBlue, the Democrats' illegal scam used to raise money, including from not allowed foreign contributions, is being looked at by authorities. The Dems only know how to win by cheating, and he's right. The USA is wise to these scoundrels and crooks. Here is the post that he made on Truth Social. Hopefully, ActBlue and Democrats' legal scam used to raise money, including from not allowed foreign contributions, is being looked at by authorities. The Dems only know how to win by cheating, something which they do better than any group or party in history. But now, with their terrible policies and candidates, and with people like crooked Adam Schiff, who demanded a full pardon from Sleepy Joe leading the way, it's almost impossible to reach their money goals. The USA is wise to these scoundrels and crooks. Also, why did the auto pen give Schiff a pardon? Biden knew nothing about it. Who operated the auto pen? That is the biggest question being asked in D.C. They almost destroyed our country. They should be in jail. So the investigation is just beginning. Expect major indictments as AG Bondi and FBI Director Patel follow the money trail. The truth about who's really been controlling our elections is about to be exposed. America is taking back its democracy, its republic, from the globalist puppet masters. And there I am on the beat at the White House. So the revelations we've shared tonight about ActBlue's operations aren't just about campaign finance. They're about the integrity of our entire system. When you see elderly Americans making thousands of donations without their knowledge, you have to ask, how many more victims are out there? How long has this been going on? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because we need to hear what you think about this unprecedented assault on our electoral system. And before you go, take a moment to visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Your support through our merch helps us continue our mission to expose corruption at the highest levels. Okay, where are we going now? Tom, let's see, we got John Bonus dropping $1.99. Thank you, John, for that. And Tom B420 dropping $5. Thanks, Gary. Homie, don't play that shit. The chit. We're at $31.98. We're making a new low record tonight. And 2 new members. Man, I guess my reporting at the White House just isn't ringing with you guys, is it? I don't know. We're going to keep going, though. Oh, thanks, Brian. He had to play the sad horn. Really, Brian. Okay. Let's go into our next topic of the evening here. Okay. Something remarkable is happening inside America's intelligence agencies right now. Career bureaucrats are panicking. Mainstream media executives are making frantic phone calls, and documents are being shredded at an unprecedented rate. And tonight, we're going to show you why. We've been tracking a pattern of leaks, coordinated media narratives, and suspicious coincidences that paint a disturbing picture of collusion at the highest levels. When you see how deep this web of deception goes, you'll understand why they are so desperate to stop this information from getting out. What happens in the next few minutes will change everything. While we expose the web of media manipulation keeping Americans in the dark, your home's temperature shouldn't be kept in the dark either. Just as certain agencies try to control what you see, big utility companies try to control your comfort, charging you outrageous rates no matter the season. That's why I use this incredible portable device. It lets you maintain the perfect temperature in any room without paying those sky-high energy bills. Visit StayWarmNow.com for 60% off and take back control of your comfort like we are taking back control of our media. Now, we have some breaking news tonight. We begin with what appears to be a major escalation in the Trump administration's escalation of escalatory escalations. The escalating pattern of escalation has escalated to unprecedented levels of, you guessed it, escalation. Our panel of experts, all at the same opinion, discussed this disturbing escalation of escalatory rhetoric about escalation. That's right, we have it here. Where is it?
Poll shows that one's going to stick with me for a while because that's pretty harsh. But Don, it is not all good news for Democrats. We have to point this.
Oh. Yeah, that landed real solid there. Okay, here it is.
With judges. We begin tonight with the escalation in the president's crackdown on illegal immigration.
Today's dramatic escalation in the Trump administration's conflict with judges.
The Trump administration signaling a major escalation in its deportation efforts.
Today, an escalation in the Trump administration's battle with the judiciary.
Tensions between local and federal authorities over President Trump's immigration crackdown escalated today.
We begin this hour with a major escalation of the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration.
We begin with what appears to be a major escalation in the Trump administration's deportation efforts.
And what is a major escalation in the battle here in D.C. over immigration and deportation.
This feels like an insane and reckless escalation from the Trump administration arresting a judge. I will tell you, you are not alone.
It's a dramatic escalation.
More aggressive moves, more escalation.
Trump's escalation of his migrant purge.
This kind of escalatory action.
This is a dramatic escalation.
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 Escalation. Escalation. We've seen an immigration, an escalation.
Western Lensman putting that beautiful montage together of the media narrative. That's right, this is propaganda in action. Yes, they all sing from the same song sheet. Notice how they all use the exact same words to describe Trump's immigration actions. Escalation, escalation, escalation. Coordinated messaging designed to make you fear a president who's simply enforcing the law. Now, the so-called neutral media zooms in selectively to push their own narrative. When Trump wore a blue suit to an event, they cropped out everyone else in blue to make him look disrespectful. This is a perfect example why trust in traditional media is at an all-time low. Listen to this.
And this here is a perfect example of what the media does to get people to hate Trump. The Vatican asked Pope Francis' funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. So that's what the media says, and this is the image they show you, right? Now here's a picture with more context, and you can see how many other people were dressed. I'm zooming in a little bit more so you can see it. There's a lot more blue than what the media was trying to lead people to believe. Again, this is the image they showed us, and this was the reality. And this is a perfect example of why the trust in the traditional media is at an all-time low. Like, they had to zoom in and get the perfect situation to push their narrative. And again, it's not about being intellectually honest or even fair. It's about pushing a narrative. And this is a perfect example of that. And it's beautiful to see the American people picking up on that and not trusting these traditional media outlets. Clearly, he was not the only person wearing blue there.
And that's why you trust the next news network. Now, while the fake news media hides the truth, President Trump's putting the faces of criminal aliens on the White House lawn for all to see. I saw it firsthand, 100 yard signs with illegal immigrant mugshots next to the heinous crimes they've been accused of. Of course, here is Peter Ducey. The deuce is loose on Fox News.
Immigrants. You can see behind us in the wider shot, the North Lawn is dotted with 100 yard signs that show illegal immigrant mugshots next to the heinous crime that they have been accused of. And if there are judges in this country who are trying to help these illegal immigrants, the 100 listed on the lawn, avoid prosecution, then there's a big problem with them too.
So here's what I want you to look at. Now you're looking at Peter Ducey. He's standing in one of those green tents on what they call Pebble Beach. It's the road that leads up to the West Wing entrance, and then right over his shoulder, those windows down there, that is where the press office is. But where he's standing, there's just a line of green tents. And that line of green tents, the way that the White House lined up, this is actually the first time I've seen this shot from the press angle, but every single media outlet, they stand in a line down these rows of tents. And they specifically put those yard signs up so it would be in every single shot in the media today. Absolutely genius placement to make sure that if the media wasn't going to cover it, it would be in every single shot. There's nothing that they could do. I mean, they could try to zoom in past the signs if they wanted to get a weird angle of whoever's speaking. But every single media outlet, there's no way, even if they decided to, just selectively edit the press conference to fit their narrative, every shot that they had today had this in it. That's amazing. This is the first time I've seen this shot today, so I'm quite excited to see that. Yes, this was in every single shot. How amazing! Let's keep going. Now, if you recall Chuck Schumer's threats against the Supreme Court justice, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. But now he claims Trump is the one intimidating judges. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. We got two clips here side by side. Schumer in 2025 and Schumer in 2020. And this is from Western Lensman.
We're impartial. They're trying to intimidate judges. This is not the first time or the second. They've said they want to impeach judges. They said they're going to go after judges who don't agree with them. That is so against the Constitution. What Trump, Biondi, and the whole Justice Department are trying to do is push that judge, threaten that judge, so the judge is no longer impartial. It is outrageous. You cannot have a democracy without an independent judiciary, and they're trying to clip the wings of that independence.
And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
And if you remember, there was an assassination attempt on Justice Brett Kavanaugh, probably due to some of the rhetoric that we're hearing from Chuck Schumer from that very clip back in 2020. Now, the deep state's being exposed. DNI Tulsi Gabbard has uncovered leakers within the intelligence community who selectively feed classified information to the propaganda media to undermine President Trump and the work he is doing. But their days are numbered. Here's Tulsi Gabbard.
Have a role in that, in cooperation with the director of the CIA and the FBI, since you're overseeing all of it. So it could be any in those bureaus beneath you.
Yes.
Okay. We just had the Secretary of Defense on, and he also is dealing with leak issues, 3 of which have been fired, maybe a 4 queued up. As Director of National Intelligence, do you have a role in that investigation?
I don't. The Department of Defense is conducting their own investigation. I've not been involved with or connected to that. What we are looking at is specifically within the intelligence community. So that means the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, but also with purview over the 18 different intelligence elements that I have oversight over.
Can you give me what you were told about you need to be able to communicate in real time, rapidly, with people at your level in a secure location? Yeah. Thanks to the Chinese infiltrating just about everything under the Biden administration, everyone was told to use the Signal app. What is the protocol for the administration about using the Signal app?
It's very simple, obviously. We have official, secure means of communication, whether it's email or phone. That is the preferred method of communication. If, for example, someone is traveling, they're on the road.
Which happens all the time.
Which obviously, we're not all locked to our desks, which is a good thing. Limited use of an end-to-end encrypted app like Signal is not only authorized under this administration, it was used prolifically under the Biden administration as well, recognizing that that's the most secure form of communication, but not using it to communicate classified information, of course.
Was Jake Sullivan and former Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, were they communicating that way?
I have been told by people who have firsthand experience they communicated prolifically and in great detail using the Signal app.
So,
which is interesting because the Democrats on the committee and people who've been talking about this have never questioned or acknowledged that fact, even though we know that they know.
Now, 2 deep state criminals have been referred for prosecution with a 3rd on the way. They're not whistleblowers. They're criminals leaking classified information to undermine American national security. Here's more.
2 alleged leakers. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is here, and she's saying this. Deep state criminals, and she puts them on notice, referring to 2 alleged leakers of classified info of the DOJ for prosecution. So 2 and more are coming. 3rd referral is on the way. Here to explain is the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Director, great to see you in person.
Good to see you, Brian.
So I read about this. You indicated to me this was happening. 2 people have been found to be leaking. A 3rd on its way. Can you give me the nature of the leaks and how you discovered it?
Let's just first of all point out what we know has been the problem for a very long time. One of the reasons why the American people voted resoundingly for President Trump was to root out the kind of politicization and weaponization of intelligence that has really undermined the trust the American people have in the intelligence community and the national security state, but really what also directly undermines our own national security. So I made it very clear to the U.S. Senate, to the American people when I had the honor of being appointed to this position, that we will not allow this to continue. We take this very seriously. It is illegal to leak classified information. And so what you're seeing here is me carrying out on the promise and the mandate the American people gave Trump. We conducted our own internal investigation. We have referred them now to the Department of Justice and the FBI for an official criminal investigation because these are crimes and people need to be held accountable to put a stop to this.
When you were Congresswoman, we talked about this. There's people within the department not selling secrets to Russia or China.
Well, we're keeping an eye out for that, too.
Absolutely, but undermining the policy of the administration, the first administration, working against you at the CIA, working against you. Now you're finding this out. So you found people who seem motivated to undermine the president.
Yeah. When we look at the examples that I've seen just in the short time that I've been in this position, what they consist of is essentially very selective leaks to their friends in the propaganda media that twist and manipulate intelligence directly to undermine the president's policies and his aggressive work to keep the American people safe.
So does that...
So for years they lectured us that no one's above the law. when targeting Trump with endless witch hunts, but when he enforces immigration laws against criminal aliens and corrupt judges who shield them, suddenly they scream about independence. Sick double standard.
The law.
No one. The idea that no person is above the law is a bedrock principle of American justice.
No man is above the law, no matter what the crime.
And I agree with you. No man is above the law. No person is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one's above the law.
No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
He has to be held accountable. He's not above the law.
No one's above the law. Either that nor any other title puts you above the rule of law.
No one is truly above the law.
That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what it means to not have a king.
They're not above the law. Nobody is above the law.
Everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as equally.
Well, that no one is above the law, which is foundational.
No one is above the law, even a former president.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
No one is above the law.
The law is the law, and no one should be above it.
Yes, nobody is above the law. No one is above the law.
No one else is above the law, including a president.
Nobody is above the law. You can't have two justice systems in America. It has to be one justice system. And anybody who breaks the law should be held accountable.
And that no one is above the law.
No one is above the law, and our president is not above the law.
I always thought that this country, that no one was above the law, especially the president.
Yeah, no one's above the law except the Democrats. So the America First agenda is exposing the corrupt alliance between the deep state, legacy media, and globalist elite. President Trump keeping his promise to drain the swamp. The more they attack and distort, the more you know he's winning. The Great Awakening cannot be stopped. And there's a picture you can see very clearly now. Those are the tents I was talking about earlier with Peter Doocy. You can see them all lined up. Now, this picture was taken a couple weeks ago, but nonetheless, on the opposite side, see, I'm walking down the street right there, and on the opposite side today is where all of those lawn signs were placed. So clearly they would be in the shot of every single media outlet. So what we've revealed tonight about the corrupt media intelligence complex isn't just about bias. It's about a systematic effort to control what Americans think and believe. When you see coordinated messaging across every major network using the exact same words, you have to ask who's really pulling the strings. Who is writing the song sheet? How deep does this manipulation go? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because we need to hear what you think about this unprecedented exposure of the deep state's propaganda machine. And before you go, visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, linked down in the description if you tap more below the video. When you wear Next News Network gear, you're showing the world you stand for truth over propaganda. All right, that is it. That's the show. Resto Guy dropping $50. What's up, man? Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you, Gary, and thank you, chat, he says. And Tom B420 dropping 5 gifts, memberships to Less is More, Rick Cooper, Shire, and Joseph Isaacs and Shelley as well. Now you guys have access to that behind-the-scenes video I shot at the White House today. You'll find it on the channel page in the members playlist, members-only playlist. Curio 23, oh boy. A sperm donor, a carpenter, and Julius Caesar walk into a bar. He came, he saw, he conquered. Pad the daily total. Well, you guys know the rules. I got to read it. $4.99. That's what it costs for me to read that. Okay, John Bonus dropping another $1.99. Thank you, John, for that. Sincerely. Now we're going to check in on the main feed here. I think I've got, there it is. There's the big chat. The big chat. Okay, where are we looking at here? Going to, let's see. Clint Russell, it's impossible to watch this video without becoming at least 5% racist. What?
That has to be. This is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling. That has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said...
Okay. Not going to go any further. Donald Trump kept his promise to bring sheriffs to the Oval Office in his first 100 days. For 4 years before he took office, we begged the president to see us. We got nothing but silence. Margot Martin, here's their video.
4 years in the last, before you took office, we begged the president to see us, and we got nothing but silence. And we were sleeping. I understand. And on the day, even before you were elected by the people and took office, you said to us as sheriffs of this country that you will stand with us and you'll be with us and you'll help us on that border. And sir, you've done more than any of us could have imagined in less than 100 days. And we just want you to know how much that means to each and every one of us, and that we, in return, and you know this, we will stand with you every inch of this battle.
So let's check in on the main chat. I have to run. I have to get with the post-production team now to get all this content organized for all of America to wake up. Oh my God, you guys are going bonkers. Deportable. Selling slushies. Oh my God, I can't even read some of these chats. Hell not. Oh man. Oh my goodness, you guys are so funny. Oh, Pothead Kenny, good night and God bless. Yes, dropping the link to the Discord in there, you guys. Oh, wow. Tell you what, maybe I'll pop in the Discord real quick as I'm getting out of the studio. Give you a little behind-the-scenes shot. So we'll wait for that. Someone head over to the Discord and open up that live, and then I'll jump in and say hello to all the members who have access. But that is our show for tonight from the heart of Washington, D.C. And what a monumental broadcast it's been in just the past hour. Actually 2 hours and 20 minutes. We've witnessed not only history unfolding, but the desperate attempts to stop it. We began with the astonishing transformation of America in President Trump's first 99 days, a period that has been completely rewritten what's possible in American politics. And the numbers don't lie, and they've got the establishment so terrified they're now openly calling for resistance. We showed you the explosive truth about promises made and promises kept with video evidence that sent shockwaves through Washington. And now we're seeing a governor's unprecedented response calling for mass protests and declaring that Republicans cannot know peace. Ask yourself, what are they really afraid of? We also exposed the cartel invasion that reached right into the heart of America, including that shocking discovery in Colorado Springs that involved active duty military personnel. This isn't just about border security anymore, it's about national survival. And the ActBlue investigation we revealed tonight will be talked about for years to come. The scope of what we've uncovered, the scale of the deception, it's unlike anything we've seen before in American politics. And finally, we pulled back the curtain on the deep state's media manipulation machine, exposing how they've been coordinating their attacks on America First policies. Their playbook is now laid bare for all to see. And to everyone who sent in super chats and Rumble rants tonight, thank you. Your voices matter and they are being heard. We featured as many as we could on screen and we read every single one. And this show, remember, it exists because of you, the patriots who refuse to let the truth be buried. If you want to help us keep exposing what the mainstream media won't touch, there are 3 ways you can do right now. First, hit the donation links in the description. Every dollar helps us stay independent and keep bringing you the real story. Second, tell a friend about the Next News Network. Don't let big tech's algorithms decide who gets to hear the truth. And third, visit our merch shop, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, where your support for real journalism proudly. We're living through historic times, and you're seeing it unfold right here on the Raw feed. So from all of us at the Next News Network, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, when they react this strongly, you know we're winning.